It's impossible to learn something that you think you already know. I'm going to say that again. It's impossible to learn something that you think you already know. And I wanted to lead with that in this video because what I'm going to show you, what I'm going to tell you is probably going to be the complete opposite, if not controversial, to everything that you've thought of and heard of before. So if you're a high school baseball player, if you're a parent or a coach of a high school baseball player, this video is for you, A. B, this is not to just be controversial. I'm not here to take a shot at you, whether you're the coach, the parent, the program, the player. This is not a shot at anyone or anything, but this is to get you to rearrange your focus on the areas that I know will give you the best chance of maximizing your potential as a baseball player. And there's two things that I could go into. One that I'm going to save for another video. The focus that we're going to put on today is obviously coming from the strength and conditioning side of things. I know, having been with a lot of high school baseball athletes and even beyond that, the biggest issue with, again, strength and conditioning side of things, baseball players, is the overemphasis on being sport specific to your training. Meaning you only do things that focus on direct correlation to the diamond. And as a strength and conditioning specialist, in the way that I design my programs, as well as the meta-analysis on top of meta-analysis that I could prove to you, the best chance you have of being the best baseball player you can be is being the best athlete you can be, and training in such a way that maximizes your athletic potential. If you trained in a way that maximized your athletic potential and then properly structured around that specific skill work for baseball, which is focusing on areas for like throwing velo, exit velo. We're not leaving that off the table. I'm not saying that's not important, because baseball is a very skill-driven sport. I would say that hitting, especially at the major leagues and the high level, is probably the hardest skill of any sport that you could play. So I respect the skill side of things, and it needs its place. But putting all of your emphasis, or the majority of your emphasis, into just exercises that directly correlate to the diamond is what's causing you to leave meat on the bone. You're leaving potential on the table. If you want to be the best baseball player you can be, I've said this, I'm going to repeat it. If you want to be the best baseball player you can be, you need to focus your strength and conditioning to be the best athlete that you can be. As a coach and a teacher, I'll always say that the best coaches and the best teachers, they don't tell you what to see, they show you where to look. So in this video, I'm going to give you a phase 1 and a phase 2. So I will give you something to see, but I really want you to take away from this video where you need to look. And the way that I want you to wrap your mind around the off season for next year, it's July. So you probably are anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months having ended your baseball season. And as you get ready later down the road from the strength and conditioning side of things for next year, I want you to put your focus into the areas that I'm going to go over here, okay? My team, by the way, they just finished their season about 2 weeks ago. My high school, they went to the state championship in Kentucky, and they got rocked in the state championship, but they lost to Louisville Trinity, who won. They went on to win the national championship. So if you're into moral losses, that was one, but we were still proud of them. So I'm still proud of them. I didn't play baseball in high school. I played up to high school, and having worked with a tremendous amount of athletes and specifically baseball players in high school, I've fallen back in love with the sport. I love it tremendously. I have a lot of passion and respect for what these athletes do in and out of the season. So the skill level that is attached to being a great baseball player, I am not given its space, okay? So everything I'm about to say here is to stick with my values, my core values of what I want you to be, which is being the best baseball player that you could be. And I just know that that comes from you being the best athlete that you can be. I've repeated all this like 2, 3, 4 times now, just in this video, because I can't hammer it home any harder than it needs to be, okay? So let's get right into this. The first piece that you need to think about is speed work. And I have a video, forget the title of it, I'll put the link in the description so you can go watch it, where I go more in depth on the importance of speed work as a general athlete in any sport, okay? But what I will tell you in the short is that a faster athlete is a better athlete, and a faster athlete is a healthier athlete. It's not debatable. If you can improve your speed, you will improve your athleticism. If you improve your athleticism, you will improve in any sport you play, okay? That's your direct correlation to the diamond. So as a baseball player, I'm sure you don't naturally think about, except for the 60-yard dash, I'm sure you don't think about speed work in the off season as a baseball player. Maybe you do because you play multiple sports, but you're thinking of it for the other sports. As a strict baseball player, almost no baseball player puts a lot of focus on sprinting and speed work. The first thing that I would tell you is that I don't want you to overwork that, and doing 100-meter dashes and 200-meter dashes is not speed work, okay? That's not working on getting faster. We're working on different metrics when we focus on that. So anything beyond 5 or 6 seconds is not speed work. What is speed work is where you put about 1 to 2 times a week, start with 1, work up to 2 times a week, and I'll show you in this schedule that I'll give you. 2 times a week, it's going to take about 20 minutes of your time. We're doing speed work that is 5 to 6 second sprints or less. So it's not a lot of a volume, but it's frequency, it's consistency, and with speed, unlike other forms of conditioning like strength and endurance, speed work, you actually, if you don't use it, you will lose it. You will lose it quicker than any other form of conditioning. So speed work is a staple year-round, even in season. That is my first piece. Now let's get that off the table. Let's go into the weight training side of things, okay? The training side of things, I have a system in which I coach through. A lot of training programs, no matter what sport you play, is very heavy on having a strength day, a speed day, a power day. I don't do that. I don't do that for a lot of reasons that I don't want to get into here because it would make the video way too long. But what I can tell you is this. Your body adapts and grows from a stimulus to frequency. You need frequency. So what I like to do is I like to incorporate strength in every workout. I like to incorporate power in every workout. This is called, another word for these are maximum effort and dynamic effort. I like to do maximum effort and dynamic effort built into every workout, okay? But with that being said, I don't like to do that at large amounts of volume because you will be doing those movements more frequently, okay? So you have your upper body days, you have your lower body days, but within every workout, you're always doing something that is strength-based. You're always doing something that is power-based, and then you're going to fill out the rest of the workout with more repetitional effort and building your lactic capacity, meaning I want you to be strong even when you're tired. That's how I structure any given workout, and then the program is just an extension of that, okay? So that is my training style. Let's go, and before we go any further, this is going to be a note-taking video, so get your notes. I got these one after another. There's going to be a phase 1 and a phase 2. Again, I'm not going to give the phase 3 and 4 and 5 to this because honestly, you could go a bunch of different directions. How you respond to phase 1 and phase 2 would determine phase 3 and phase 4, okay? But this will get you started. So depending on when you watch the video, you could apply this today, tomorrow, immediately. This will be something that is for any athlete in high school, obviously, that plays baseball, irregard of your background to training, okay? Now, the more training you have, the quicker you could probably advance into phase 2, but I would want all of you to still start in phase 1. The benefit is if you have more experience, you just have more strength, you have more conditioning, you could go heavier at everything I'm about to say, okay? So pause the video if you need to, get a pen, get a notebook, let's write this down. I'm going to give you the weekly split for each of these first, and then I'm going to give you what each of these workouts would look like, okay? So phase 1 is going to be day 1, upper body plus speed work. So you're going to finish with speed work after you put your focus into the upper body weightlifting resistance training portion. So it's weightlifting for your upper body, and then we're doing speed work, 20 minutes of sprints. Day 2 is off. Day 3 is lower body. Then we're going 2 days off. And then we're going total body. If you notice, that's only 3 days of lifting with 1 day of speed work. That is foundational. That's somewhat primitive, especially to some of you who do lift already pretty heavy. We'll get to that in a minute, but we're going to call this phase 1. And I want you to stay here for probably 4 to 6 weeks because you'll see from the rep schemes that I give you in a minute why that is, okay? But that is phase 1. Pause if you need to. Write this all down. Now we're going into phase 2. Phase 2, day 1, is upper body and speed work again. Day 2 is core and mobility. That's total body mobility, not just shoulder mobility or hip mobility. That's total mobility and core work. Day 3 is lower body. With lower body, that's a lot more taxing, so I rarely will have you do lower body plus something else. I like to put all of my focus into lower body when I do lower body. And I mean that for me, I mean that for my athletes, okay? Day 4 is rest. So you've done 3 days of movement here. Day 4 is rest. Day 5 is core and mobility again. And then day 6 would be total body and speed work. So now in phase 2, you're still doing 3 days of lifting with 2 days of speed work. Okay, and which is about where I would like for you to be and stay at. Okay, so speed work, sprinting, that's about 2 times a week. Roughly, you're talking 15 to 20 minute sessions. We're not going long durations. No sprint is going to be longer than something that's 5 or 6 seconds, okay? 40-yard dashes and shorter. That's what we're focused on. Speed work combined with the resistance training is how you get faster. That's how you will get faster. It's the ultimate plyometric, okay? You could go into 4 days a week of lifting where you do 2 upper, 2 lower. Right now it's just 1 upper, 1 lower, 1 total body. You could do 2 upper, 2 lower. Make sure you always kind of keep that even there. You don't want to go too much one way or the other. But for right now, and honestly, even for a very quiet, long amount of time, if you do it properly, you could actually just stick with 1 upper, 1 lower total body. This is for what is most optimal for baseball, by the way. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you're a multi-sport athlete, we would want to adjust this a little bit. And because I've said baseball is a very skill-driven sport, and I respect that side of it, we would also want to make sure that you're still incorporating that too, in season and off season. So that, again, would need to be a one-on-one individualized discussion, okay? But for a general consumption here, there's phase 1, there's phase 2. Go back and listen if you need to. Have all that written down. Now I'm going to break down to you what a upper body day, a lower body day, a core work, what that could look like, okay? For the upper body, I'm going to give you some exercise selections. This doesn't have to be hard pressed, but meaning like you could modify this exercise in different places of the workout. What I like to do is I like to start out every workout with strength. You're fresh. While you're fresh, let's go strong, let's go heavy. So I start out every workout strength-based. We go strength, which is maximal effort. Then we go power, which is dynamic effort. Strength is about how much you can lift. Power is, in simple terms, how fast you can move that weight. So strength is how much weight can you lift. Power is how fast can you move that weight. So that's maximal effort, and then it's dynamic effort. We put that at the front of each workout. Then we go into repetitional effort, which is where you can do things that are also inclusion of sport specific. But this is where you're going to build strength, and this is also where we're going to focus on lactic capacity as we end the workout. Meaning I want you to still be strong even when you're tired, because in the bottom of the 9th, the bottom of the 7th, 4th quarter, you still need to be strong in your 1 rep max or your 3 rep max or your 5 rep max. It has nothing to do with that, okay? All those have their place, but there's being strong and there's being strong when you're tired. And you want to structure your workout so that you're focusing on all endeavors of that endurance, okay? That's being a complete conditioned athlete. So starting with the strength, your first exercise in this workout would be dumbbell A press. So think of a dumbbell bench incline press or a dumbbell bench flat press. I like to not be completely flat. I like to go up just 1 notch on the bench. From there, if you're looking at my hands, I want you to tuck your elbows in just a little bit, and I want you to put your hands at about 45 degrees. So you're kind of making an A. I call these an A press. So instead of just a flat, regular, elbows going wide, with the bench press, I want you to tuck them in a little bit, and I want your hands to be focused more around 45 degrees, and I want you to come down and power through here, all right? You're going to go 10 reps the first 2 weeks, 8 reps the next 2 weeks, 6 reps the next 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, you're going down in reps, but I want you going up in weight, okay? So we're progressive overload, and this is a very basic style of training for progressive overload. That's your strength portion of the workout. 10, 8, 6 every 2 weeks, decreasing the reps, increasing the weight. Then the next portion is going to be heavy rows. This is upper body. So heavy rows, that could be bent over row using a barbell. That could be bent over row using a dumbbell. That could be a chest supported row. Anything where you're using a heavy movement to row towards your body. So we focused on the push for strength. Now I want you to focus on the pull, okay? That too is going to be reps of 10 for the first 2 weeks, reps of 8 for the next 2 weeks, reps of 6 for the next 2 weeks. About 4 sets. You could do 3, you could do 5, but I want you focusing on as the reps come down, the weight goes up and vice versa, okay? Then we're going to work into the portion of more repetitional effort. So that was maximal and dynamic effort of the workout. Repetitional effort, pick any of these exercises. You're going to do about 3 to 4 sets. So write down 3 to 4 sets times about 8 to 12 reps. This is your repetitional effort. Pull-ups, chin-ups, use bands if you need to. I want you to go banded to body weight to weighted. When you can do weighted pull-ups and weighted chin-ups, that's where we need you to be. Hang cleans, power cleans, overhead presses. Overhead presses could be with a barbell. They could be with a dumbbell. That is also a little bit more specific to the athlete. It matters to the position you play, the other sports you play, your shoulder health, your overall conditioning. There's other factors that go into that, but a overhead press, this is where that could come into play. One of the easiest ways, if you're thinking of shoulder mobility, would be to do more of a dumbbell military. Instead of being even with your shoulders, bring your elbows in just a little bit and lifting a little bit in front of your head so that you're not out wide, you're more controlled in a controlled space. So just bringing your elbows in just a little bit. That's an overhead press of this, okay? So that right there, you could pick from any of those exercises and you could actually mix and match. Whatever you start with though, for the strength, stick with that exercise. Whatever you go with the power, stick with that exercise because you want to be progressively getting stronger in that movement and being able to track that. So whatever you start with, stick with it, at least for the first 6 weeks like I just gave you, okay? Sprints. Here are 2 different sprint works. I said twice a week, starting out with once a week, but then moving to twice a week. Here are 2 different sprints workouts that you can do, okay? Sprint workout number 1, depth jumps. If you don't know what this is, you can find these on YouTube. Depth jumps are incredible for vertical jump and just leaping ability, overall athleticism. I want you doing 5 sets of 5 with depth jumps, 5 sets of 5 with broad jumps, meaning 5 maximum effort broad jumps, 5 maximum effort depth jumps, okay? That's the plyometric side of this, and then sprints, which I also include as plyometrics. I want you doing 5 sets of 20-yard dashes, 2 sets of 30-yard dashes, and 1 40-yard sprint. That's it. Rest times are about a minute. You can give yourself a little bit more, especially with the sprinting. Rest times with the jumps, a little less, maybe more like 45 seconds to a minute. With the sprints, you can give yourself up to 2 minutes if you need to, because I want you to be, we're not trying to condition your endurance here. We're trying to work your speed, right? So I want you to be mostly recovered for the next sprint, okay? Here's the second workout. We're kind of flipping it. We're going to start with, and none of this is inclusion of a warm-up, okay? There's a lot of different ways you could warm up. That needs to be included. Let me say that. I didn't include this in this, but you should warm up and you should be warmed up when you do this. So the first thing on sprint workout number 2, 40-yard dash, 2 sets. Then we're going to do a 20-yard dash for 4 sets. And then we would finish with triple broad jumps, meaning you're just doing 3 broad jumps. It's almost like a frog jump. You maximum jump, gather yourself, maximum jump, broad jump, gather yourself, maximum broad jump. That's all one set. We're going to do that 3 times. So this is, it's pretty even from a plyometric sprint for both workouts. I include sprints as a plyometric. I believe they are the most, that is the most effective plyometric. But those are your sprint and speed work exercises. So you have your upper body, you have your sprints. Now here is a group of core exercises that you could do. I would like for you to do these. I said core mobility twice a week in phase 2. You could go beyond that if you're more conditioned, and I would encourage you to do so. If you could be training your abs at least 3, your core abs, you could be training your core at least 3 to 4 times a week. That would be what you should work to in regardless of any phase of training you're in, okay? Picking from this basic list, pick any 2 exercises and do about 4 to 5 sets. Focus on perfect form, somewhere between 10 to 20 reps, okay? You don't have to max out and go to failure because your form goes to crap. I want you to focus more on being consistent and going 4 to 5 sets. Let's just say 10 to 20 reps. You'll probably, if you're doing correct form with this in the beginning, you'll be failing around 10 reps by the time you get later in the sets, okay? You could do ab rollers, ab rollouts, okay, depending on how you want to call that. Decline bench leg lifts, weighted crunches, weighted sit-ups. 2 different forms. You could do it from the bench, from a decline bench, or from the floor. And then hanging leg raises. Instead of having to think of all these creative ab exercises, those are the 4 staples. If you just pick 2 of them, and for any one given workout, and you do about 4 to 5 sets, and you do, with good form, 10 to 20 reps, and then you work up to 2 times a week, and then doing this 3 times a week, and then doing this 4 times a week. That's all you need from a core standpoint of just being core specific. Obviously, when you do other movements, you're also working your core, which you'll certainly hit that when we get into the leg workouts next, okay? But that's your core, that's your sprint, and that's your upper body. So then let's finish with the legs. This is the upper body, or the lower body, excuse me. So starting with strength, power, repetitional. So maximum, dynamic, repetitional. Starting with the strength, while you're fresh, I have back squat, also for 10 reps for the first 2 weeks, then 8 reps for 2 weeks, then 6 reps 2 weeks. Increasing the weight, decreasing the reps every 2 weeks. Then moving into, you could do heavy Romanian deadlifts, RDLs. I like doing that with dumbbells for a multitude of reasons. A little bit of it's because of your back, but it's also because I think you can get a deeper stretch from your hamstrings and glutes, and you can be a little bit more powerful with that. That's my preference. You could use a bar if you want. Heavy RDLs, or you could do reverse lunges. You could do reverse lunges holding dumbbells to your side. You could use it with a back squat, like a barbell on your back, which would be the ideal way if you're comfortable with that and you're strong enough, because you can do more weight that way. Your legs won't give out as quick as your arms will. So I do like that if you can work to that, okay? But 2 exercises to pick from there. With that one, I want you doing 3 sets, probably somewhere in the 6 to 8 rep range. We're going to be a little bit more powerful. I want you to be more explosive. So we're controlling on the movement down, and we're explosive on the movement up, okay? Explosive with good form, okay? Then you can move into the repetitional, where you can mix and match these exercises. This could be weighted step-ups. You could do box jumps. You could do weighted box jumps. You could do sled pushes and sled pulls if you have access to that. Most of you don't and understand that, but if you do, please take advantage of that. Sled push, sled pull, massive for athleticism and conditioning. Love it. Especially also lactic capacity. It's a great way to finish a leg workout. Split jumps, weighted split jumps. These are all movements that I'll put into YouTube Shorts, but even in the meantime, you can also obviously find these, there's demonstrations all over YouTube. So video demonstration, or if you have questions, you can always reach to me personally. So I would be happy to give you a little critique of your form, show you what you're doing wrong, or just answering general questions. So I'll put a link of that, of how you could touch me, get in touch with me, into the description in my link tree, okay? So last but not least, and I haven't touched on this yet, I know this video is getting long, or at least longer than I wanted it to be. Feeder work. This is something that most athletes don't incorporate to their program. Feeder work is where you work on an area that you are lagging. Something that it could be an area as a muscle group. It could be a performance area that is a standard metric that we could see. Or it could be a exercise that you just struggle with, meaning like pull-ups, which I would put on this list. If you can't do body weight pull-ups, I would definitely deem that as an area that you need to put focus into, okay? If you struggle with a lot of your push movements and you're weak in that area, push-ups. So here's an example. 4 to 5 times a week in the evenings. This is high frequency, low volume. You could do push-ups. You could do banded pull-ups to improve your pull-up. You could do dumbbell lat raises or dumbbell strict form overhead press to improve your shoulder health, shoulder mobility. You could do any and all of these things, but the key is let's focus on one area at a time. 4 to 5 times a week. I want you to focus on more about 100 repetitions. So lightweight, 100 reps, 4 to 5 times a week. Let's just say Monday through Friday, 100 reps. Keep it simple. You're going lightweight here, not moderate, not heavy, lightweight. Okay? So moderate, not heavy, lightweight. I want you to focus on 4 to 5 times a week. It could be, and then for legs, I'll give you, that you really don't need if you're doing speed work as much, okay? It's not that you don't need it. It's just that will be brought up in other ways. But for your upper body, you could do pull-ups. If you struggle with that, you could do push-ups. If you struggle with any of your push movements, and if you have any issues with shoulder strength or shoulder mobility, you could do overhead presses with a strict form. I like doing that with a dumbbell so that you can be more in a mobile position so that you get just a little bit healthier for your shoulders, to be honest with you. So there's feeder work, there's leg work, there's core work, there's sprint work, and there's upper body work. I just went over the exercises, the rep ranges, and the sets. You have your phase 1, you have your phase 2. That could get you going. That's the workout that could get you going. If you have questions, there's a link in the description in which you can discuss more information with me. I can go over your program. Just take a look at what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you need to add, what you need to subtract. Most of you need to subtract a lot of things. We could take a look under the hood, but all that means nothing if you don't understand the importance behind this video, which was I want you to put a mass amount of effort into being the best athlete that you can be. If you focus on being the best athlete you can be, and even if you're just a one sport athlete, but just being the best all-around athlete that you can be, maximizing your strength and conditioning in and out of the season, that will make you the best baseball player, since we're talking about that in this video. That will make you the best athlete in any sport plug and play that you are playing, okay? That's all I have for you today. We will progress this video into other ways. The next video is going to go over problem number 2 that I see with baseball, and it's honestly not just with baseball, it's with every sport. So it's going to have a different title to it, but like and subscribe, stay tuned for the next video, because if you found this video to be helpful, the next video is the other 50% missing piece. I hope this video serves you well. I know that it will if you apply it. I wish you absolutely nothing but the best. Take care and God bless.